Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
When is the perfect moment to reinvent ourselves? When is the ideal time to start off on a new path? Right this minute. Welcome to Ahead for Business on USA Global TV and Radio. We are going to be talking about reinvention. We're going to be talking about making your own break. We have a very special guest who's with us, but before we bring her out, let me welcome my dear friend, colleague, and mentor, and the co-founder of Profit for Teams, Mr. Al Cini. Hello, Mr. Cini, welcome.
Good morning, Dr. Kerbeck, and it's great seeing you.
Thank you very much. Great seeing you too. Before we bring out Jennifer, I just want to announce, because you've heard me going on and on about this as time's gone by, today is 180 days without any alcohol or sugar, pasta, pizza, fried food, or any of the things that I love so dearly. So I have been reinventing myself along the way, and I appreciate your support.
I think that's wonderful. And let me tell you, while I admire and respect you and consider you a leader, I hope you don't mind if I neglect following you on that journey. Thank you.
You are most welcome. Tell us about your work with Profit for Teams.
We're a team development program that is based on social science, and starts with a discovery audit. And the goal of the program really is to help everybody understand who they are on a team, who their colleagues are on their team, and who their team is when it's doing its best work on its best day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cini. Well, we have another fabulous guest who comes to us from Mickey Mickelson and Creative Edge. So I'm going to bring out Jennifer and then introduce her. Jennifer Lieberman, welcome to the program.
Hi.
Hi, Jen.
Hello, everybody. Dr. Kerbeck, I need to honor you in your 180 days of no sugar, no pasta, no alcohol. Oh my goodness. I have done that before. And I know how challenging it is. Your skin is absolutely glowing. I'm sure you have more energy than you've had in quite a while. And
absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, anytime we reinvent ourselves, it takes work. And I think that's why it's so key that you're here today, because you are really the advocate for make your own break. And so you are an actress, you're a producer, you're a presenter, you have your own show that you've been doing. I don't know if you're still doing it actively, but you've been a one-person show. And I think even today, with everything that you represent, it's basically, there's no one coming to save us. There's no magic wand, as my mother would say. I wish there was a magic wand. There is no magic wand. So tell us a little bit, Jen, about why you have become so passionate about making your own break.
Well, basically, I refused to die. When nobody chose me, when I started off as an actress, it got really frustrating. And I kind of was at this crossroads of I can quit, or I can start creating my own productions. I can create my own projects, and I can show people that I have value and that I deserve a seat at the table, so to speak. So that's how my creative journey began, beyond just being a performer. So I started writing and producing my own productions, and that has led me to so many wonderful places. One of them is becoming a #1 best-selling author. I adapted my one-woman show into a novel, so that was one thing. I also started making my own short films, And that's taken me all over the world to some incredible film festivals, including the Cannes Film Festival, where 2 of my short films have screened. And I was even hired to do somebody else's one-woman show in Australia. So I got to work in Australia. And if I never would have taken that leap of faith and done my own project first, I never would have gotten to all of these wonderful places that I've got to experience.
Jennifer, that is such a great summary of your background. And I want to start with a misconception. We are a Head for Business, so it's all about the psychology of how do you make your own break. You watch a movie like Field of Dreams, and you pull a line out of it like, "If you build it, they will come." And then you live a life and you realize you can build it until the cows come home. Nobody's going to come until you make them come. And so I want to start with a really simple but very, very commonly asked question. What does a producer do?
That is such a fabulous question, because there are several different types of producers and we do different things. Sometimes producers will do several of these things. So an executive producer is attached to the money. So they have either finances that they can invest in a production, or they have connections to financiers and they will connect financiers to a project. So that's one form of a producer. There's another producer who spearheads the entire project. Sometimes this will be the executive producer. A lot of times a producer is either a writer, a director, or an actor, and they have a project that they are burning with so much passion to get made. And they need to find the money. They need to find the means. They need to find the connections in order to get the project made, whether it's film or theater or now streaming. So that type of a producer, they spearhead the entire production. They have a specific goal. They have a specific plan. They hire the entire team. They put together a team who, if they can't do the budget and schedule themselves, depending on the scale of the project, there's a line producer that they will hire. A line producer is in charge of the budget of every line item on the budget. And they're on the entire length of the production, because if things go sideways and you're not making your days, you're running behind schedule, equipment is broken, somebody gets sick or injured and you need to go wait a few days. Actors have obviously gotten sick, broken an arm, broken a leg. They have to pause for a couple weeks sometimes. So the line producer is in charge of making sure that you stay on time and on budget. There's also a production manager. The production manager is boots on the ground, making sure every single thing runs smoothly, and they manage every single team on the production. So there's several different types of producers, but I was recently at the Tribeca Film Festival Storytelling Summit, and there was a wonderful producer, Tony Yang, and he had this eloquent quote about what a producer does. It is the producer's job to facilitate an environment and support everybody in executing their creative goals successfully. Because it's a team of many creatives. You have your actors, you have your director, you have your costume people, your makeup people, your set designers, your lighting designers. All of these people are creative positions. And it's the producer's role to support everybody to execute successfully to get the best possible product.
Oh, that's terrific. Can I ask a follow-up question real quick? Because
of course.
You just defined, the picture you just painted for me is a cast of thousands. So it's like the production of the Odyssey. I see hundreds of people involved. But you have recently, over time, you've done a one-woman show. And in that one-woman show, you have done all of those roles, haven't you? I mean, you've done all those things. Just you. That's possible, isn't it?
It is possible. But basically, it comes down to you wear as many hats as you need to until you can afford to pay people more. But you don't hire those people until it makes sense for the budget and the scale of your production. So one of the things I do is I have to reverse engineer. Theater, it's a little more straightforward because film, it's more involved with pre-sales and distribution deals. But for example, with theater, this is the easier one to explain. You only have a certain amount of nights in the theater, you know, whether you're going for one weekend or a 6-week, 8-show-a-week run. That's kind of the standard, unless you're very successful and you get picked up to go longer. But how many seats do you have? 200-300 seats in the theater, or sometimes you only have 50 seats. Well, how much can you possibly make? What is the ceiling of what you can make? Well, your budget has to stay under that number. Hopefully it stays considerably under that number so you can actually make a profit. So it's kind of a sliding scale depending on how many people you need for the production, like actors you need on stage. And the Odyssey, yes, took thousands of people. For a smaller budget, low budget film, sometimes people are making independent horror movies for $10,000 or $20,000, and people are wearing multiple hats, multiple roles. Theater as well, it's very scaled back until you get to a big multi-million-dollar Broadway production. So it just kind of depends on the size and the scale of the production, how long it's going to take. Even with a film, a $10,000 film is usually shot in less than 10 days. A movie like The Odyssey, they will spend 3, 4, 5 months shooting and then a year or 2 in post-production, because they have hundreds of millions of dollars to make that movie. So it really does depend. It's a case by case.
What an outstanding overview and explanation. Thank you so much for that. I want to liken it for our friends out there who might be fitness enthusiasts like me. I feel like it's kind of like you go to a small local gym where Susie owns it and you pay a minimal amount of money, or you go to Lifetime Fitness where I go. I'm looking around like, how many coaches do they have here? How many swim instructors? It's hundreds and hundreds of people at every location. So I think that knowing what it is that you're looking to achieve, there is no limit, but you also have to know that there's competition. And so you have to know every aspect of your business. And you obviously, Jennifer, are a pro at that. So if we go back to the psychology of business and what I started the show off with, there are many people who will tell me they are waiting for the perfect moment to do something. What are your thoughts about that?
Now is the perfect moment. You know, today is a gift and tomorrow is not a given. And the other thing too is you might think you have a really unique idea, but we all kind of live in the same world. And I'm going to use the stand-up comedy world, for example. Like if you're doing observation comedy, several comedians will talk about the same subject matter. They might not have the same punchline, but we all experience the same things. And if you don't jump on your idea now, somebody else might have the same idea and they might jump on it, number one. Number two, if you're trying to reinvent yourself or build a business, this is going to take time. So the longer you wait, the longer it's going to take to go where you're trying to go. And also, things are changing very rapidly in our technology-heavy world right now. So it doesn't take as long to jump on an idea as it used to, and you don't want somebody else to get there before you do.
What do you say, Jennifer, to somebody who just says, it's too big for me? This is just too big. I have a great idea and I really want to develop it, but it's just too big for me and I've got too many other things to do. And I mean, what happens to the idea when people get that in their heads?
Well, I think the problem is looking at the big picture. The big picture is always too big and it's always too overwhelming. You have to look at it. You have to break it down into small, manageable, and actionable steps. You know, if you're trying to write a book, you don't write a whole book. You write your first page. You write your first chapter. and you work for, or you might even start with an outline, which is how I like to write my books. So you want to, yes, exactly. I think people do get overwhelmed and they shoot themselves in the foot because they're looking at this big idea and this big project. But I think number one is, what is the first step you have to take? What is the first thing you have to do in order to move forward with this? If you're starting a company, if you're starting a business, maybe you need to look at other similar businesses or similar ideas, see what the competition is, see what's out there, get out of your head. I think that's also a number one, task we have to do, is we have to get out of our head and move it into something physical that we can actually write down, go and see, go and experience physically. Because when we're in our head, we start spinning out. And I know for myself, I always have to get out of the house, get off the screen, go for a walk, do something tactile and physical that brings me back to earth and grounds me in some sort of way.
Jennifer, one of the things I really admire is you've won so many different awards and you're such a true creative and successful in every single aspect. When you are doing, or when you have done work on your own, you are that gym owner, if you will. There's nowhere to hide, really. There's no one to blame it on. There's no one to say it's her fault, it's his fault. So where do you get that confidence and that resilience to say, okay, I am accountable, I'm going to accept it, and I'm going to learn from it and move on?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, for example, my most recent book, I missed my deadline. I didn't have a deadline that anybody else knew about, but it was my own deadline that I set for myself as a solopreneur. We all have to set our own deadlines for what we want to achieve and when. And I have, calendar, weekly, monthly, yearly, 5 years out of things that I'm working towards achieving. And, I kind of had a little bit of a breakdown because I knew I wasn't going to hit the date that I wanted to be finished. And I had a good cry. I accepted the fact that I wasn't going to hit this deadline that I was pushing for, that nobody else was waiting for, nobody else knew about. And I just kind of regrouped and said, okay, do I need to make myself crazy in order to hit this deadline that nobody cares about except for me? Or can I give myself a little bit of leeway, a little bit of grace, give myself that extra 2 weeks that I need to achieve it, maintaining my sanity? And that's what I did. Because sometimes, despite our best intentions, other things come up, other things get in the way, life gets in the way, and we need to kind of give ourselves that grace at the times that we can. If I'm in rehearsals for a play, if I'm shooting a film, we don't have that grace ever, ever, ever. There are set dates for opening night. There are set dates for each location, each day we have to shoot, and there's no more money to go beyond that. So it just, I don't know where the drive comes from, but it's definitely like a roller coaster. I have my good days, I have my bad days, but I think ultimately I know nobody else is going to get me there than me. And I just have to resolve, if I want to get to where I'm going, it's up to me to drive the train.
That is, I think you put your finger on something that's so important too, because when it's all said and done, our success is what we make, not what other people make for us. And what we all have to learn how to be is a producer in our own production. How do we manage our own projects? How do we tell ourselves every now and then to take 5? Because sometimes you need to take 5, not to have a cup of coffee, but just because you need 5, or 10 or 15. You've got to give yourself a break every now and then. But at the same time, when that's over, you can start thinking about the next step that has to be accomplished and what the accomplishment of that looks like. And I think that methodical plodding forward makes you a hero. And Hollywood and Broadway both need heroes. There was a story yesterday that I remember reading talking about how Broadway's in trouble. The major production factory of Broadway is suffering because it's old productions retooled over and over again that are becoming worn out and not appealing to an audience anymore. So they're all of a sudden now having difficulty filling seats. The rescue isn't going to be Iron Man or Spider-Man, somebody in a costume. The rescue is going to be the individual creative who can build something worth watching, worth experiencing, and mount it on a stage where people can get to it and enjoy it and appreciate it. That's
Yes.
you, right?
Thank you. Yes, it's me, it's my colleagues. We've been discussing for years how the big companies, big Broadway and big Hollywood are so afraid of taking chances and taking risks on newer stories, on newer artists, and on smaller productions. Ever since streaming became the norm, they understand that a lot of people will wait. If it's a comedy, if it's a romance, they will wait for it to come to their home as opposed to going to the theater. So they've been trying to do these big blockbuster tentpole films, which are kind of limited to epics and the superhero space. So it's been a very limited kind of regurgitation of the same material over and over again. And for Broadway used to cater to the New York audience, and regular New Yorkers, because it's just such a cultural city in general, would go to Broadway shows regularly. And they didn't used to cost so much money. It wasn't always a spectacle. And now these Broadway shows are catering to the tourists that are coming in from all over the country or all over the world. And they have to be these huge kind of big event productions. And also they're getting these huge celebrities to be in these productions. Well, then you're excluding a very large part of the New York population who used to just frequent theater all the time because it was in their city. And they would go to plays every couple of months on a regular basis because you're in New York and it's part of the culture and it's part of what you do. So I think a lot of these decisions are you're alienating your audience in a lot of terms. Most blockbuster movies that are these superhero craziness with all the CGI and explosions and fighting, they don't really cater to the female population. And female population is 51% of the population. We are attracted to very different genres, but movies aren't really catering to us. So I don't know. That's something to revisit.
Excellent insight. And Mr. Cini, as a New Yorker yourself, what say you?
Well, I remember walking through Times Square on matinee day as a New Yorker. I remember looking at all those people from Ohio and Michigan and New Jersey. And I remember being really annoyed by them because they didn't know where to stand on the sidewalk and they weren't moving. That's what I remember. And that I think the problem is exactly what Jennifer just described. I think an audience wants a human story, not a superhuman story. And there are many, many creatives out there who could mount and create and write and produce those stories. I think they're afraid to because they can't imagine how they can compete with, for God's sake, Cats, which I think is finally closing.
It is closing.
Not a second too soon. I mean, really, not because I don't like cats. I have one, but because it's time for something new. And that something new could be something at a scale that humans live in, not superhumans. And so if anybody's going to rescue show business, it's going to be people like Jennifer Lieberman, who not only have the ideas, but also have the drive and the energy to mount those ideas. And the risk-taking takes risk. The ability to sustain, to manage risk in a way where you can just put yourself out there and see what happens and accept the fact that not everybody's going to like it right away. You got to keep at it. I mean, that's kind of it, isn't it, Jen?
Yes. And studios, like, for example, Sony Studios, they used to have a slate of films each year that were diverse and that catered to different audiences and catered to different types of people. And the budgets ranged because they knew taking a risk on a smaller, newer artist, or taking a risk on, an independent kind of quirky romance film isn't going to warrant the same kind of budget as Spider-Man. But in the past decade or so, all of those films have been taken off of the slate. And I feel like Broadway as well. They're not, people used to go to Broadway to see great theater. They didn't really care if it was an A-list celebrity star in the show. That would happen from time to time, but it wasn't the norm. And now, even I'm involved with two productions in New York. One is a show being developed for Broadway, and one is being developed for off-Broadway. And we're both talking about names, like big names for each of these productions, which is going to eat up a huge chunk of the budget just for that one person. But it's a marketing strategy and a publicity strategy. Even though both of these shows have weight and they have important topics to discuss, and they really suit being told for a New York audience. One is about the gentrification of Harlem. And the problem is, the stories do stand alone, but without a big celebrity name, it's so hard to draw in that audience these days. And that's what audiences have come to expect. So it's a really challenging time, especially if you're not a big musical or you're not an adaptation of a story that people are already familiar with.
Jen, how would you say that social media or you can pick one or both, artificial intelligence have impacted the work that you do?
Oh, that's such a great question. Okay, well, social media in a way has leveled the playing field because now everybody has equal access to an audience. So I am working on building my social media brand. It's something that took me quite a while to lean into because a lot of stuff you see on social media, you just kind of feel like, ugh, ick, I don't want to be that. But I've realized there are a lot of people that I follow, channels that I follow on social media that I do enjoy and appreciate and find helpful. So I think kind of finding that balance. But I think these days, if you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, if you're an artist, if you have a business, it's unavoidable. You really need to lean into your social media and build your network, because if you can own your audience and you can have a following, then you're your own distribution network, which is what you're doing with USA Global TV. And you're not waiting for anybody to give you permission. You started your own channel. You have a slate of incredible shows, and you just did it on your own. So it's definitely leveled the playing field. In terms of AI is here. AI is a great tool if you use it properly. And I don't think it's necessarily going to take over the entertainment industry. There are going to be AI films, but I think I would put that in a kind of adjacent category to animation. When there's a cartoon or an animated film, we don't get all in a huff and say, oh, it's taking away jobs because there's an illustrator who's making that. And I don't think live action is ever going to go away. I think it's going to be hard for AI to infiltrate the theater beyond, production planning and maybe marketing and some of the behind the scenes stuff. But I think both of these are incredible tools that we need to learn to use and lean into, because it will only help us make our own break.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Thank you.
Great segue to my question. You've written a book.
Yeah.
Tell us what's in it. As we've been talking, Dr. Jacalyn has been scrolling through some of your online content, but let's talk about your book. What's in it?
Okay. So my book, Year of the What, is an adaptation of my one-woman show, which was originally called Year of the Slut, because I needed to get butts in seats, as I call it, at the theater. So I came up with a kind of racy, provocative, controversial title in order to leverage that controversy to get people curious and interested and out of the house, because with theater, we have to get people out of the house or we're dead in the water. So that was my debut novel. And it's kind of like a Sex in the City. However, the characters are younger, so it's more coming of age, fish out of water. And it's a outrageous romantic comedy. It was a lot of fun to perform. It was a lot of fun to write. I never thought I would write a novel, but opportunities presented itself and I said yes. And I think that's also important in terms of reinventing ourselves, is sometimes people will make a suggestion that we never considered. And at first, our knee-jerk reaction is, no, I'm not that. I don't do that. And I think being curious about, could I write a book? Could I be an author? Is kind of a better reaction. The answers might still be no, but it's a better reaction to be curious about suggestions as opposed to shooting them down completely. So that was my debut novel. And then I have a book that just came out. And this is the one I talked about that I missed my deadline that nobody knew about. And that's independent theater for the 21st century. Sorry, independent theater production for the 21st century in 7 simple steps. And this is basically a 7-step roadmap for creatives. You can be an actor, a writer, a director, performance artist. And I also think it's helpful to anyone who's planning an event. They don't necessarily need to be a performer or a creative. And it basically breaks down 7 steps of, once again, taking the big picture, condensing it into manageable, bite-sized, actionable pieces so you don't get completely overwhelmed when you think, oh, I want to do this, but this is too big. I can't handle it. Let's just shut down that idea and focus on something else.
Yes.
Jen, one of the things that you just said, and I really want to touch on, and I actually I have it here on my phone. I was talking to Al about this earlier today. I saw something pop up on Instagram from Grant Cardone, and he mentioned ignorance as contempt prior to investigation. And I think that's in alignment with what you just talked about, is that so many times people will just say no. And you're saying yes, and yes. And look at all the things that you have created and accomplished. And I'm sure that this is just the beginning. So what would you say to people out there who are consistently saying no?
Well, I would say stay curious and, try yesing a little bit. I never thought I would do a one-woman show. I had produced 2 one-woman shows for other actresses before I ever did mine. But I was spinning my wheels in LA. I was trying to get noticed. And I met a woman whose husband owned an agency. And she said, write yourself a vehicle, write yourself a one-woman show, and invite industry and let people know you exist and let them know what you can do. And as much as when I was working on these other one-woman shows, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm a capable actress, but I could never do that. I could never play multiple characters on stage at once. I could never be on stage for an hour and a half all alone. And then when somebody said, this could be the key to open the door, I was like, well, I really want to open the door. I really want to open the door. If this is the key, then I'm going to have to try it. And that's what I did. And same thing when I did the show in New York and it won the Audience Choice Award at a festival. And several people were like, oh my goodness, this would be a great chick lit book. This would be a great, like a Sex in the City rom-com book. You should write the book. And my first response was, oh, I don't write books. I only want to perform. I'm an actress. I don't want to write something that I can't act in. However, I leaned into it. It took several years of writing and rewriting and trying to get a door open, and finally just self-publishing because I couldn't get those doors open, and then changing the title because the title got censored, and I had issues with the title online, and publicists wouldn't work with me. Nobody wanted to deal with the word slut, even though it's a feminist piece deconstructing a pejorative used against women. I realized, like, okay, I got to change the title. I don't want to change the title. The title was what made it a success in New York. It got the butts in the seats. It got people to the theater. And eventually I did. And then the novel was able to break through. So one of the biggest things I see with creatives and just people in life in general is we need to get out of our own way. So many of us are the ones standing in our own way. And a lot of times we are living in fear of the word no, so we don't try. But when we don't try, we are the ones that say no to ourselves before anybody else has the opportunity to do it for us.
That is so true. And I'm looking at the clock, and we never have enough time to cover everything. It's so frustrating, especially when you've got a guest like Jennifer who just knows so much. But speaking with both of you and understanding that the problem is the word no, it's not just when we say no to ourselves, it's when we listen to other people when they say no to us. So when you first decide that you want to break through, I love that word, and I love the making your own. When you first decide that you want to stand out and break through, the first feedback you get from friends and family, people that you trust and that you believe in, are, why don't you just get a job? Why do you have to work so hard at this? What's the point of all this? Why don't you just go to work, whatever? I mean, how do you speak, asking both of you, how do you turn those no's into a yes in your head and move forward?
Jennifer is the guest. Would you like to go first?
Sure. Well, basically, it's not a choice. It's a compulsion. It's an obsession. And I say to people, if you can be happy doing anything else, do anything else. Do anything else. It would be easier. But if you're, kind of one of those off-kilter people like me, and you have this crazy desire, you have to follow it, or you're not going to be happy.
Absolutely. And I would just add to that, I don't think anyone knows what we need more than we know. I don't know what either of you need. You don't know what I need, but we always think we know what someone else is. Well, oh, I know what you need. Oh, I can solve your problem. So I said to myself, no one knows what I need, and I'm passionate about doing this. And even though you don't believe in me, Mr. Cini believed in me. Thank you very much. But many people did not believe in me whatsoever. I just kept moving forward. And to your point earlier, Jen, when you were talking about getting upset, I will allow myself 10 minutes for a boo-hoo session. And after the 10 minutes, what is the solution? And then I look for the solution, and I do not take the external feedback. My phone is on Do Not Disturb most of the day. So I pick and choose when I'm going to engage, because I set boundaries, because I have certain things I want to accomplish for myself. The same with working out. I see people, they're on their phone on the treadmill. They're lifting weights with one hand on the phone. My phone is in the locker. I am completely focused. So I think you have to be passionate about it. And the external validation or lack thereof is really unimportant.
What I'm learning from both of you is that you shouldn't wait to be bitten by a radioactive spider. You shouldn't wait to be launched in a rocket from Krypton to the Earth. None of that stuff is going to happen for you. What's going to happen for you is that all of a sudden some seed that you plant inside yourself is going to bloom because you watered it, you nurtured it, you moved it from one pot to another so that it could keep growing. That whole idea that you could be your own producer, your own farmer, your own make it happen person, I think is Jennifer's core lesson. It was great conversation today.
Absolutely. Jennifer, we've been sharing your links, your social media, your website. What's the best way for people to reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
Sure. The best way to stay tuned is Instagram, and my handle is I am Jen Lieberman. And that's a very easy way. I post semi-regularly, a couple times a week. However, if you are a creative, you're looking to make your own break, you have an idea, you want to learn how to get a production off the ground, you can go to my website, makeyourownbreak.com. I have a link to the book there, the theater production book that just came out. And I also offer workshops, consulting. You can sign up, make an appointment for a 15-minute free consultation to see if I'm the right fit for your project. And that also will lead you to my acting website and my novel website. The novel is #1 in a series, so there's more to come with that. Next year, book 2 is going to be coming out. So, but Make Your Own Break will have links to everything else, and that would be a great start. And if you are a producer or a director and you're looking for an actor, I am always looking to collaborate on exciting projects.
Well done. Fantastic interview. Thank you so much, Jen, for really helping us understand that we have to take the first step, maybe the second, third, fourth, 10th, however many, and we've got to go out there on our own. And the perfect time is right this minute. There's no time that it's going to be everybody in your life agrees. Your health is phenomenal. You have enough money. You have the mental fortitude. It doesn't happen. So just make the decision to find happiness and peace of mind. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much for being here. Mr. Cini, how can people get in touch with you and ProFit for Teams?
I can be reached by email at pro-fitforteams.com. That's the number 4. Or I can be telephoned. I have a phone number, 212-480-3730. I hope people will reach out. A lot of what we talked about today is letting the purpose lead us, letting the what it is we envision as a result of our labors take charge and take over and make us do the things we need to do to make that happen. And ProFit for Teams is about helping teams find that sweet spot in themselves. And love delivering the program, love what it does for people, and love to talk to people about how it works.
Thank you very much. For those who will be listening to this on a podcast platform later after it airs on TV, we are showing your website. Al, what is the website address again, please?
pro-fitforteams.com.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Cini, another fabulous episode. I'm really inspired by what Jen said. You know, any of us, including Jen, when you interact with enough people and you're in the public domain, you're going to hear a lot of no's before you even get to have a conversation about what something, oh, I can't do that. I just told you at a conversation I had with someone and the person kept telling me, but it's the summer. I don't do these things in the summer. It's like, okay, we'll get back in touch with you some other season. But it's funny. People come up with all kinds of excuses because they don't know what it is they want to do. They can tell you all the things they don't want to do, all the things they don't like. But in order to find out what it is that you're passionate about, you've got to really unload a lot of that baggage and set some boundaries.
And there's another part to it. I first of all, that's brilliant. Absolutely true. The word no is everybody's favorite word. It's a shame, just how it is. And understanding that when they say no, you don't have to listen. You don't need to pay attention to it. And it's not necessarily right. I think that's half the battle of succeeding as an individual, if you know what I mean. So that's number one. And I think that's really critical to remember. And if you don't take any other lessons from today's program except that one, that lesson in itself is worth the view. Also, it's farming. You plant seeds. You don't just do one thing and expect it to pay off. You've got to do things consistently over and over again, and eventually they take root and yield a crop.
Absolutely. And if you're blessed enough, you can find a mentor like Mr. Al Cini, who has been guiding me for the last 5 years. So thank you again, Al.
Now you're just being too nice. Thank you very much, Doc.
You are most welcome. Okay, we're going to close out the show right now with a word from one of our team members, Mr. Red O'Laughlin. I've got to give him so much credit. For those of you who know him, he's turning 80, and he has been doing 3 TV shows a week with me for 5 years. And he's written a new book, and the title of the book is Aging Sucks. So let's take a look. Thank you again for being here. We'll be back with our next show.
Thanks.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Every great story begins with a vision. At USA Global TV and Radio for years, we've been providing world-class education, entertainment, inspiration, imagination, connections, and hope. Most people don't stay to watch the outro or the credits, but it's the people behind every success, behind every breakthrough, and behind every unforgettable story who matter. The TV show hosts, our guests, our sponsors, our publicists, our production team, our distribution team, our search engine optimization team, and so many more. You're the ones who make the difference. Every great story belongs to the people who bring it to life. Our future looks bright at USA Global TV and Radio, and that's because of you, our loyal fan base all around the world in more than 60 countries. Together, we're making a difference because you matter. USA Global TV and Radio, live streaming to over 60 countries. Voiceover, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Video production and direction, Paul Garcia. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV and Radio on YouTube.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.